Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, how you doing? Welcome to the show. I've had a very full morning. A guy cleaning the windows in my house fell off his ladder and just had like a gaping wound in his head. Oh, so I'm just told that everything's fine. He's fine. He's fine, but it was a hell of a way to start the day. And my dog's better. There, that's the update from these parts. It's July 13th. Oh, man. The picture on the front page of the New York Times today, my Times actually came today. That was amazing. Is of the cliffs of the Carina Nebula. I don't understand any of it, and is that so? Are those is that really cliffs, or is that and are those real colors? And I don't understand any of it, and I can't listen to people trying to explain it to me because it's interesting that I don't have the intellectual curiosity to marshal my focus. I just, I say, I suppose it's like a lot of people who don't take their responsibilities as citizens seriously, feel about, following news and elections and think, it's just screw it. So and I feel bad about that. My refusal to try to comprehend it. I don't know if it's because of old age or what, but I just want you to know. I look at it and I'm like, what? Oh. The front page is, of course, always full of horror, although today the front page has two stories that you could argue are sort of uplifting or certainly hopeful or run against the grain of the usual mix of horror. One, the headline is, in many ways, the world is getting better. Oh, there's another part of it. It says, it also feels broken. So that's an article where they try to explain that. And at one point, they actually say, of course, you feel the world is coming apart at the seams. And so it's difficult to square that. And with the data, which they say, shows that the world is generally better off than it has ever been. Here's some for instances. Life expectancy, literacy, and standards of living have all risen to historic highs. And I guess that's where the problem is, because my reaction to that was not in this country. The reason we're feeling like everything's coming apart is because our country seems to be coming apart. The metrics they're using are global. And throughout the world, yes, more people have in the last 50 years or 100 years been lifted out of, abject poverty, have access education and have now, because of medical science, are living longer. But that ain't true if you're an American. American life expectancy is going down. America's sense of everything is going down. I would even think our literacy is going down. We seem to be surrounded by a bunch of illiterates. At any rate, so there was that. And then there's this, again, numbers. They did a poll. You know, why do we even, it's sort of like, why do you watch the weather forecast? They're wrong so often. So why am I talking about a friggin' poll? They're just wrong. They're proven wrong so often. And yet we keep coming back and citing them and feeling like I have to, what's the weather forecast? Fascinating. Anyway, this poll, do with it what you want, says that, you know, the midterm elections, which we're nervous about, right now, if you poll people about them, the Democrats are doing just fine, which goes against all what everybody is predicting. It'll be a blowout. It always is. These midterm elections, yada, 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 and you got inflation, and you got COVID, and you got, oh, by the way, in this poll, when people are asked what they're most concerned about, COVID doesn't even show up. Well, it shows up. 1% of people said that was the thing they were concerned about. 1%. Global warming, not so high either. It's like nobody, this is why I think we're more illiterate than we ever were, because things that are true threats are perceived or dealt with by the public as, I'm not worrying about that. Of course, the biggie is inflation, which news on that front is not good today. But it does say, this poll, just so you know, it makes you feel any better. Right now, among registered voters, 41% say they prefer Democrats controlling Congress. 40% say they want Republicans. So that's a dead heat, but it ain't a runaway for the Republicans. So, and also, it's July, so who gives a damn? This poll was taken apparently 10 days. It was started 10 days after the Roe v. Wade decision. And so it could be that the Roe v. Wade decision turns out to be, as we would figure, a gift to Democrats in that it has roused the base and even picked off some independent voters. So there's that. But, you know what's on page 3, though? So they blast you with the horrors of the day on page 1. Page 2 is always sort of a... Does anyone ever read page 2? What even is there? There's silly stuff. There's nothing. Sort of like housekeeping. Then on page 3, and this shows the newspapers trying to be helpful for being the messenger. They have a little thing called Here to Help. And they actually, today's Here to Help is about how to not spiral into despair while reading the news. And it's interesting that now newspapers will carry this kind of thing. How to get, on page 3, they give you the tips to getting through page 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the others. Right. So the tips are, you know, come on. What do you think they are? We could write this. Oh, it's such touchy-feely crapola. Label your feelings. Allow yourself to feel the emotion. Practice different types of empathy. Invest in a joy practice. Excuse me while I retch. I mean, maybe that is helpful. I'm not being fair, I'm sure. Dismissing all of that out of... Oh, God, I'm looking at those cliffs again of the nebula. Those aren't really cliffs, right? Are they made out of rock? They are? You look a little... What is that? I don't know what it is I'm looking at. And if each of those little white dots is a whole friggin' other universe, oh my God. No, I can't. I defer and am in awe of people who are rushing toward all of this and eager to understand it. I'm just left with a sense of incredible inconsequentialness. Is that a word? And this has been a problem with me for forever, because I've told you that my mother's an astronomy nut, and she's constantly gazing. And I told you this. I mean, she would roust me out of a deep sleep as a child and shepherd me onto the front lawn and point, look! And I found it so terrifying because whatever it was she was pointing at, maybe a comet, maybe the northern lights, I don't know. It just made me feel so inconsequential, so tiny that I was afraid I would just disappear. Because what she was telling me to look at was so huge that I couldn't get my little head around it. And now, 70 years later, I still can't. And it still makes me feel so incredibly small. So I've tried to read some of it, and I just don't understand it. I can't wrap my head that these pictures we're looking at are supposedly we're looking at a snapshot of something that happened 14 billion years ago. All right, okay. Let's watch something stupid on TV. Speaking of watching TV, I watched the January 6th hearings yesterday. I don't know why I found this one less compelling. I guess because it focused so much on crazy people in positions of power. Excuse me. And I found it absolutely disquieting. I mean, the scene of that meeting with these nutcases, these are the people, the plotters, attempting to tell the president how they could keep him in power. And you look at the cast of characters and, well, you feel shame. That's what I feel. I just feel shame. These are people in the Oval Office of the President of the United States. And to call it a clown show is really, it is. I mean, I'm sure somebody else has said this, is a disservice to clowns, even though they're not my favorite people. But it is. It's a disservice. I mean, this crew, Flynn and Sydney, what's her name? Oh my God! And the My Pillow guy, and then it turns out the Overstock Inc. guy. This is who these idiots. These frigging lunatic idiots. And we find out that, yeah, I mean, they're screaming at each other. People are just screaming. You could hear them all over the house. And they went from room to room. They spill out of the Oval Office. They spill into some other room. They finally end up in Trump's personal chambers up on top in the private, screaming at each other till the wee hours of the morning. And it was after that meeting that he sends the tweet that who knew that it wouldn't have meant anything to us. Hey, a tweet about be there, January 6th, going to be wild. That tweet meant nothing to me. Boy, did it mean something to. It was more than a dog whistle. It was totally understood by the Republican thuggery. They knew exactly what was being asked. Oh, Trump wants us in D.C. Bring weapons. We're going to overthrow the government. They understood that. And their whole group of right-wing loons who have their platforms and have the ears of, a few thousand here and 100,000 there, they literally, in case someone didn't get that tweet said what it did, told them, we've been called. Get ready. We got to go. So it was right out there in the open that Trump is the one who gave the battle cry. And then the stuff, the fact that what the committee has done is just blown holes into the idea that this was somehow a spontaneous event, something that got a little out of control. No, this was planned. On January 4, 2 days before, the person who's organizing the rally at which the president will speak texts some people who needed to be in the know that the president is going to have us march to the Capitol. And then she goes on to say but he's going to make it look unexpected. So don't put that out exactly, because we want it to look spontaneous. And there was a tweet that was drafted but never sent out from Trump or from his tweet people. And the tweet said, I will be making a big speech on January 6th at the Ellipse. Arrive early, massive crowds expected. March to the Capitol after. Stop the steal. That tweet was never sent because Trump wanted this sense that it was not planned to march to the Capitol. I mean, it's just, Trump's got to be, I'm sorry, he's got to be, he's watching. And I think of all the other nervous people, all of those Congress persons who have defied subpoenas from the committee, the ones that if we were still doing justice the way it would have been dispensed of maybe a few hundred years ago, these guys would all be looking at hanging from gallows, not Mike Pence. No. But we know who they are, and there's a ton of them. And these are also the people that wanted pardons because they know they're guilty as hell. You've got an entire party here. They're all Republicans. Oh, that's just it, just so you understand. We're talking about a Republican attempt because most Republicans are just quiet. They're not as in the vanguard. I don't know if you'd say they're quiet because the majority of them in the House refused to vote to accept the votes of you, me, in Pennsylvania. They were trying to stop the orderly transfer. It's fascinating. You've got a Congress that does nothing, but it's a nest of vipers, insurrectionists, criminals. God. And then at the end, Liz Cheney drops another bombshell in a call out to Donald Trump. She informs us that Trump has attempted to contact a witness. Not the one we've already heard about. This is a different thing with a witness unidentified that has not been seen yet. So we don't know who that is, but Donald Trump seemed to know because he put a phone call into this mystery person. And the mystery person, seeing Donald Trump on the ID, didn't accept the call because the mystery person knew what was on the other end and didn't want to have to deal with it. But the mystery person did contact their attorney. The attorney contacted the committee, and Liz Cheney told Donald Trump yesterday that all of this information was being forwarded to the Justice Department because it smelled like an attempt at witness tampering. You gotta love the incredibly, I've said this before, disciplined and assertive manner in which this committee is operating. I mean, my hat is just off to them. Truly. All right. What else do I have here? Oh, so I did, because I was watching the hearings. Then after I guess I was on CNN. And then after they had the talking heads, everybody yapping about what it is you just saw, what news was made, all of that. Well, one of the people, I just want to say, and I didn't catch her name, and I'd never seen her before because I don't watch that much anymore. I think her first name was Alyssa or Elisa. She was, as so many women on television are, attractive, young, and sleeveless. Even if it's 40 below outside, they're sleeveless. My God, there was a woman on the other day who was wearing something that you wouldn't, that you might wear to the fanciest like event. It was off the shouldery and plunging neckline and made out of a kind of fabric that is all about, glitz and party. And she was on talking about, some serious subjects. I think, where did this is Fox News. Fox News did this. But then all the others just immediately fell into line. Why, back in the day when I was on television, we women dressed ourselves in a way where we thought we'd be taken more seriously. We weren't thinking about trying to, I mean, my God. And you have to be, oh, never mind, I got distracted. So this woman, Alyssa, listening to her, and at one point there was they identified her. And all I saw was that she is from the Trump White House. And she was, I think, something in communication. And she's responding to a lot of what was said at the hearing about, oh, yes, I was constantly in meetings in the Oval with, the president in this. And then she's like clearly aligning herself with like us. She's outraged by everything that is being testified to. I don't even understand what the hell. She must have resigned or something, but it was clear she hadn't resigned until the very end. So why, do you know what I'm sorry. I'm just getting angry just thinking about it again. This is a person who served Donald Trump, who served the seditionists, who served these unhinged, autocratic, power-hungry, narcissistic, crazy people. My God, if she was in communications, she was charged with putting out their packs of lies. And now she's on CNN and she's expressing, I'm sorry. I don't understand. CNN has no problem, and nobody said to her at any point, "Hey, Alyssa," or whatever the hell your name is, were you this outraged at the lack of character and the stupidity of these people the whole time you were serving their interests? I mean, what? What is she doing there? It's all just a show. It's all just entertainment. Oh, God. Okay, I'll stop. Maybe. Sorry, I keep thinking about that guy's head. Jeez. God, I'm not good when I see, like, hunks of flesh. I mean, not good. Hard way for me to start a morning. Just saying. I seem just a little, I don't know. So that's the first time I heard Overstocks.com was like the My Pillow guy too. These guys that I'm glad to know. So, it's not like I'd ever get a My Pillow, and God knows I ain't ever doing anything with Overstocks.com. Hey, here was a headline from today's paper. This is shocking. Manchin opposes EV incentives, electric vehicles. So, and this is a Biden main kind of a effort to give subsidies to those of us who would switch from gas to electric vehicles. They want to give us money to make that start happening faster because, well, the climate scientists say that we can't afford to do a little slow and transition here. We need to step on it. And so this is an effort to give it a push. And of course, It ain't going to happen. Because a mansion. Oh, my gosh. There are so many horrible people, that you want to throttle. And he is forever on my list. Just open about who he serves. This is a guy who has taken more money from oil and coal and gas companies than any other senator. Do you know what that means? It must mean, because, there's a ton of senators in that industry's pocket. Do you imagine what Manchin's got in his pocket? It's a wonder he can even perambulate. So he serves them. They paid him mightily. Manchin opposes, and therefore Biden and the Democrats, screw him. Just another little item. Okay. So here was something that I liked. Somebody not just squawking and screaming like yours truly, but actually acting, doing something. This is a woman named Meg Autry. She is Dr. Meg Autry. She's a OBGYN. She's also a professor at UC San Francisco. And she got an idea. And she didn't just get an idea, but she started working on making it happen. And this was in response to the increasing unavailability of abortion and other health care aimed at women. I forgot where that sentence started. Well, here's what she's decided. If you look at a map of where women are simply incapable of accessing any facility without traveling 800 miles and knowing that, well, I don't have to back up and do all this again, knowing that, wealthy women don't have a problem, but it's women who don't have access to money, cars, time, that won't be able to do it. Sorry. They got to scramble 24/7 just to stay alive and keep their kids alive. So she's looking at a map and she sees that whole swath of the southern border of this country, all those southern states where all the women trapped in those states are not going to have access. So it's not like this hasn't been done before. She is well on her way to raising the millions of dollars required to get a ship and to get it equipped as a floating medical facility that would be capable of doing surgical abortion, testing for sexually transmitted diseases, all the things that, that like Planned Parenthood would do. But it'll be on this ship. And obviously that ship has to be staffed by doctors, but the ship will stay just out of national waters. It'll be in international waters. Forget how many miles out is that. And then there will have some kind of service that will ferry women to the ship. And that ship can move. It can be, here, and then it can move down the coast a little bit. It's a huge, huge venture, expected to cost about $20 million. She established a nonprofit, and people are given money. So if you want to give some money, the nonprofit is called Prrowess, but it's spelled strangely. Two R's. Prrowess. So it's Prrowess with two R's. Look it up. It stands for Protecting Reproductive Rights of Women Endangered by State Statutes. Look it up. Send her some money. There is something a lot of us can do. Now, there is a Dutch organization called Women on Waves, which has been doing this kind of thing already, providing abortions in international waters, and they have that where countries don't allow it. And they have parked off of Guatemala and Morocco and Spain and Ireland in the past. So a floating clinic. It's just one of the things that will, in some measure, help. Unbelievable. Prrowess, Prrowess. I wrote it down. I'm going to be giving them some money. Oh, Milton, are you going to try to help me? Hi, Lynn. Your sense of insignificance. I couldn't think of the word insignificance. I came up with a non-word, inconsequentialness. Isn't that what I came up with? Milton always has the right word. Your sense of insignificance at the overwhelming size of the universe reminded me of a passage from Douglas Adams. Apparently, he shared, or at least empathized, with your sense of smallness. So much so, he created this fictional device as a form of capital punishment. What? What? Milton says he finds this rather amusing. Okay, I'll read this to you. It isn't long. The most horrifying form of torture or punishment in the known universe. The total perspective vortex. That's what it is. Oh God, you do not want to be sentenced to the total perspective vortex. It is so mind-bogglingly terrifying, it even gets all capital letters. But in fact, the total perspective vortex is a small, featureless steel box, barely big enough for one man to stand in. The hopeless victims do stand in the total perspective vortex, and then are suddenly shown, for the merest instant, the entirety of the universe, the whole infinity of creation, spanning over several trillion light years and countless millennia, with an insignificant, barely perceptible little dot which says, you are here. The victims, totally demoralized by their experience, fall dead. From their insignificance in the total perspective vortex. Yeah, well, dear God. Hey, you know, somebody who could, I'm sorry, it's horrible, right, to laugh at somebody's misfortune. But sometimes people's misfortune is brought on by their just total stupidity, right? And at some point you figure that if you believe in just desserts or, consequences, things like that, you just don't waste a lot of time mourning people who get themselves into all kinds of predicaments, like this American tourist. You heard about him, right? 23-year-old guy, brain still forming. He's from Baltimore. You can own him, Baltimore. We don't want him. He was with his family this weekend, and they're in Italy. And they were hiking on Mount Vesuvius, known to us all as the source of that, immediate deaths of a lot of people who we didn't know, but who we think about because there they are, still preserved there in Pompeii. So the family is hiking up one of the trails, apparently there are, and Vesuvius is still considered an active volcano. And there was this thing that said, in Italian, I guess, stop, don't go any further. This is off limits. And of course, what do these Americans do? Of course, that doesn't mean us, does it? So they proceeded up a path that was not allowed. And damn if they didn't get right up to the lip, right up to the rim. And this idiot, of course, what happens if you're anywhere now and you're 23? You gotta take a selfie. You can say you were there, but you gotta show the world you were there. So the idiot attempts to take the selfie, and, well, you're ahead of me here, right? Yeah. He fell. I guess first his phone went, and then he went. He's lucky. He could have fallen a lot further than he fell, but he was in there, and he wasn't coming out. And so a bunch of annoyed Italians, actually they're called volcanological guides, but I'm going to call them annoyed Italian volcanological guides. They immediately leapt. This came up yesterday. It's not leaped. Leapt into action. And one was lowered on a rope down to this idiot American who he pulled back up. The American was unconscious, bruised, bloodied, but he is alive and he's arrested. So the report I'm reading about this talks about the fact that people dying while taking selfies is like a huge thing, and in fact is now being considered a public health concern. Let's see. They're starting to compile numbers. 250 people have died while taking selfies over a 6-year period. 259 deaths between 2011 and 2017. A lot of them involved taking a selfie in front of an oncoming train. This is what, I'm sorry, again, are you going to, and I'm sure a lot are, on cliffs, so people fall, a lot of them are drowning. Right. But it's considered a major health problem. Another study says that it's close to 400 people who have died while taking selfies since 2008. Oh, man. So I just gotta say, just desserts. What, Bob? The most insane true thought of the day. I don't know how many Penguin fans we got here. Guys, this is going into Penguin territory. When Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang first played together for the first time at the Penguins, Bob's telling me I was on WPTT radio. Okay. And with Malkin's, he's been re-signed to it. He's 110, and they re-signed him for 4 more years. With Malkin's re-signing late last night and Letang re-signing a couple of weeks ago, it could be a lock that they'd still be playing together as Penguin teammates by the time you surrender your time. Hey, I ain't surrendering. I'm going to outlast this trio. I ain't surrendering. Got to go 4 more years to beat him? I'll beat him. Okay, I will. What else am I going to do? Wandering around taking selfies? Okay, so here's something. Religious freedom. Excuse me while I take on a rather weighty topic, because what is it? I don't know. There are a lot of people who are very aggressive about their religion. I find it off-putting and always have. And as a member of a minority religion, I have been on the receiving end of this assertive, aggressive attempt to lead me to the truth. And I'm told that I'm not supposed to take offense because these people are so well-intentioned, because they're literally trying to save my soul. To which I say, get the fuck away from me. You got your religion, I got my religion. So now we got the Supreme Court. Oy, are they religious? Oy, God almighty. There's not a Protestant on the court, is there? No. Oh, maybe Brown Jackson is. I don't know. So she'd be holding up a lot of the first black woman, first Protestant in a while. Maybe there is another one. I don't know. But they're Catholics. Oh, maybe what's her name? The other woman. I just don't even want to know these people. I am so sorry. She might not be Catholic. So they're not all Catholic. But they're all right-wing religious nutcases. And their idea, and when they said that the football coach ostentatiously showing his devotion to Jesus on the 50-yard line was merely the act of a private man, a private citizen. What's private about the 50-yard line? But this court, you can see, they just lose all sense of, judicial kind of carefulness when there's Christians involved. They really identify with and as Christians. And so when they do all this stuff for, would the case have ever, I'm sure, again, it's been said, would the case have ever gotten anywhere if the football coach was Muslim? Nah. These are all Christian efforts by this very Christian Supreme Court to make Christianity much more public, in the public sphere. But there's a danger here because they don't say Christian. It's religious, exercising your religious freedom. So, what happens when a Muslim or a Jew or an atheist, I don't know, somebody who professes another faith tries to make use of this so-called freedom? And somebody actually has already lodged a suit since. And it's a rabbi. I don't know why I can't find his name, but it's a rabbi. Actually, I think the suitor, the person bringing the suit, is an entire synagogue rather than a rabbi. And this synagogue in Florida has filed suit in a Florida court. And they're doing this at the state level, which is what this group of Christian Supreme Court justices have suggested is the proper venue for all this stuff. So a Florida synagogue goes to court and challenges, using the Florida Constitution, the law criminalizing abortion. And among the claims that the synagogue, representing its congregation of Jews, says is that this abortion ban instituted by the state of Florida violates the rights of Jews to their exercise of their freedom of religion in the most intimate decisions of their lives. And the suit goes on to say that Jewish law stipulates that life begins at birth. And also, Jewish law requires the mother to abort the pregnancy if there is a risk to her life, her health, including her emotional well-being. Consequently, this synagogue, with its suit, is saying that Florida's abortion ban infringes on a Jew's free exercise of his or her religion. So this kind of thing is going to start happening because these state laws are using a very specific Christian view of when life begins, and also of whether or not abortion is okay or not, and under what circumstances. So I don't know that that got a lot of press, but I'm letting you know. God knows we hear and have and will continue to religious objections to abortion. Religious objections to abortion bans, though, not so much. But maybe more. Because religions do not agree on when human life begins and whether or not having a child is something that is formed by specific religious belief. Stay tuned. Ships off the coast, Jews in court. I mean, it's just going to be... Oh, speaking of Jews, there's something I wanted to... Also that I haven't said anything about, but it's something that I noted and just was stunned that I never saw anything in the paper about it. Now, that doesn't mean anything, although I do access a number of printed news sources. And let me, I've got the info here. This has to do with a terrorist alert. And let me find it. This was the FBI. And I'm not sure when this was. Was it it was last Saturday, I think. The FBI did something that I don't know that maybe it's done before, but it alerted an entire Jewish population in a large American city, and that would be San Antonio, Texas. And it alerted the Jews of San Antonio through an organization that exists in most large cities, I think all, a Jewish federation. So there's a Jewish Federation of San Antonio, there's a Jewish Federation of Pittsburgh, which obviously is then a network for Jewish synagogues and agencies. So last Saturday, the FBI in Washington, D.C. contacted the Jewish Federation of San Antonio and said that they did a threat assessment and they told the Jews of San Antonio to essentially lock up their synagogues and their schools and everything. Don't go. And the Federation did. They put out the alert that all Jewish gatherings, meaning worship, meaning school, were to be suspended until further notice. Now, I haven't gotten I've not seen anything about whether this has been lifted. So I don't know if the Jews of San Antonio are still essentially being told that they cannot exercise their religion because domestic terrorists credibly are threatening the kind of mass murder that happened here in Pittsburgh. And I heard about this from a tweet by Sherilyn Ifill, who is a black journalist. No, Sherilyn Ifill is no, I'm thinking of her. Sherilyn Ifill, is she head of she might be head of the NAACP. I don't know. I'm not up to speed, but I think that might be what she is. And she tweeted A major religion was forced to suspend gathering in an American city because of domestic terrorist threats. And there's no press conference or moment from the Attorney General or the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. Did I miss something? No, I don't think she did. Violence and domestic terror has become as American as apple pie. So it just doesn't necessarily make the news. Now, dead Jews would make the news. But apparently all these San Antonio Jews are still alive, but they're not able to worship. I'm just saying. Pay attention. Know what you're living. Know what's happening. And don't look up at the sky. I'm telling you, it's disorienting. Have a good one. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.